you can hear me well and clearly, because my internet has been a little bit wobbly the last few days, so hopefully this is playing. If not, you can always replay it afterwards. I'll put it onto my page. But I've had a number of requests to talk about confidence, so I thought what I'd do is over the next 3 weeks talk about different aspects of confidence. And hi Joanna, I talk about different aspects of confidence, and what I'm going to do tonight is really talk about some misconceptions we have about confidence, and then over the next 3 weeks I'm going to talk through a number of different techniques and tools that you can use really easily to address confidence, because confidence is a really interesting, fascinating subject. Confidence is something that can sort of wax or wane, and many of us in society today believe that, oh, that person, they're just lucky, they're just born with confidence. This person is just, they're just confident all the time. I wish I could be like that person. So as we all probably know, comparing ourselves to others is not really a good step, because it's not a really empowering thing to do, to keep comparing ourselves to other people. So what we need to do is have a look at where we are now and think about, well, if I am going to look at other people, what do they do? Hi Julie, what habits have they instilled? What mechanisms have they instilled to grow their confidence? Because what confidence is a belief. It's a belief. So it's in our mind. It's a belief that we can feel confident. Okay? That doesn't mean we are confident in every single situation, but we believe that we have the ability, the aptitude and the resources to grow our confidence. We believe that we can be confident in some way, shape or form. So I'm going to share a personal example, okay? It's quite dramatic, but anyway. So 3 years ago, 2 years ago, I did loads and loads of scuba diving, and I was scuba diving to quite an extreme level. I was doing things to like 100 meters or so, okay? Now, at that time, even though jumping into that dive, I knew it was a big undertaking, but I felt confident in my abilities to do it. Now then, I'd still feel confident, even though I haven't dived for about, 2 years or so. I feel confident that I could do that dive. However, I'm also aware that I haven't practiced it for a while. So, do you see what I mean? Something where you go, yeah, no problem, I'm going to knock that out the park. Sometimes we have to practice and develop our skills. Another example might be, I don't know, for some people, speaking on the stage fills them with dread, but other people absolutely love it. I love speaking on the stage. I love speaking to audiences. I'm an extrovert, in case you hadn't have guessed, but I love doing that kind of thing. When I speak to other people, they say, oh, I could never do that, I'm not confident enough. But there are things that perhaps I feel less confident in. So, computer programming for starters. Number one, I'm not confident in it. Number two, I'm not interested in it. So it doesn't make a difference. But confidence is not always something we're born with. It is something that can be high, or it can be low, or it can be somewhere in the middle, depending on the circumstance, depending on what we've done before, and it can either wax or it can wane. So it's not always on this kind of always static line, and there are things in life that can happen that affect our confidence. But as long as on some level we believe, do you know what? I believe in my ability to, learn this particular thing. I believe in my ability to find a job that I really want. I feel confident that I have the right to find this job that I want, expect a healthy, good relationship with someone. For me, confidence is a skill set. And when we are new at doing something, so for example, let's just say we're learning a foreign language. When we first learn that foreign language, we're very aware, our brain is functioning on a level where our brains know that this is something new that we're doing. So it makes us more conscious or self-conscious of what we're doing. Do you remember as a kid, if you were riding a bike, for example, and you might be a bit like, oh, hang on a minute, I feel a bit wobbly, oh, I want the stabilizers on my bike, I'm not ready to just go off and do it by myself. And then remember how quickly many of you would have gone, oh, I love riding my bike, look at me mum, or look at me dad, you know, and you'd like rolling down the hill. It's a bit like that. It's because you've practiced and learnt, and when we first try something, you know, we're very aware that we are trying something new, so our brain is sort of coping with learning a skill, but also is also aware that, oh, this is a bit new. Sarah hasn't done this before, so-and-so hasn't done this before. But over time, if you think about it, if you think about learning a new subject or a new skill, you don't even think about it now. And that's when you're ready to progress to the next level of whatever it is you want to be doing. If you're learning a skill, your languages might advance, or you might even go faster on the bike. So it's definitely a skill set. And we have to be able to believe in ourselves and accept ourselves on some level, and believe that we have the skills and capacity to learn, grow and develop. Okay, so for me, confidence is really a skill set. It's something that is situation specific. Okay, so I don't know, you look at people and it's not something that people are inherently born with. If you think about all these performers that we now learn have stage fright, and you think, how can someone like Carly Simon have stage fright when she's performed all these concerts over the years, you know, and there's many others that have come out and said the same. Wow, that person spent years performing in front of like hundreds, thousands, potentially millions of people. I had no idea. They've obviously had some help to really overcome some of those challenges, some skills development. And, you know, sometimes, as I mentioned, things happen in life. I didn't quite finish that point, sorry. Things happen in life to us that can sort of knock our confidence a bit. And maybe even for some of us, the pandemic has knocked our confidence a bit, or made us think about things, because it was like, do you know what? I was so confident in being able to do X, Y, and Z. I'm just having to recalibrate, you know, how I feel about that now, because, you know, there's no escaping it. The pandemic has taken away, even though we are sort of gradually coming out of a nationwide lockdown, but there are different pockets in different places. We don't have as much autonomy and flexibility as we might have had like earlier in the year or last year. So sometimes these things happen in life, or, you know, if we're getting divorced, that may well knock our confidence in relationships for a while. But as long as you don't stay there, there's quite a nice little thing you can do. Have a look back through, I don't know, the last few months of your life, or you can go back as far as you like. Have a look at different areas of your life. Get a piece of paper and maybe write some columns and say work, I don't know, children, social, friends, relationships, career. And just see if you can go through and go, okay, where did I feel confident and where did I feel less confident? And just have a note and see if there's any like adjoining themes across those areas. Is it, for example, I don't know, if you're put into an environment with a big group of people, is there a common thread there? So is that the thing you need to work at? Or is it, you know, something happened in your career to make you feel a little bit dented, so to speak? But do a bit of a confidence audit. In fact, I've already got a template for a confidence audit. So if anyone does want one, audit sounds really grand. Basically, it's a PDF with a load of checkboxes. So I have got a confidence audit if you would like to have a copy. In fact, if I can, I'll put it on Facebook. I'll put it on Facebook so you can download it and have a look at it. But have a look at these different areas of your life, because it may well give you some signals about, oh gosh, do you know what? When I started the first day of this job, I didn't feel so confident. What was that about? Okay, and when I went to this social occasion, I didn't feel confident. What was that about? Is there a theme? There may not be, but there may. So have a look and give yourself marks out of 10 for when you felt really confident and when you feel less than confident. Obviously 0, 1 is a lower number, 10 is the highest number. So see if there's some patterns there of areas and skill sets you might want to develop. So it is something, you know, that we have to develop. Some people, you know, can appear to be more confident, but it's something that they've learned. They've either learnt it through their upbringing, nature, nurture, through role models that they've had around. If you've not had particularly encouraging role models, it can take a bit more work to encourage your confidence in yourself. But it is really not always something we're born with. It's something that develops over time, and what you have to be able to do is like yourself and love yourself. If you love, accept and like yourself, then you believe, do you know what, I really deserve these things in life, and I feel confident because I like myself. I'm not going to punish myself by holding myself back, but we feel it in our minds and our bodies that we can really develop these skill sets. So one thing you can do, going back to that idea of looking at different areas of your life, what have you learned in one area of your life? Okay, right. So when I was feeling less confident here, what did I do to shift that? What did I try and do differently? Or if I could wind the clock back now, what would I do differently? Because what you can do is beg, steal and borrow. If you've cracked it in one area of your life, you can crack it in another. So, for example, going back to my scuba diving analogy, I know that on some level I can do that. All it means is I have to go and brush up on some skills. So the thought of me jumping out of a plane, some people go, oh, I'd love to go like jumping out of a plane, this, that and the other. Now to me that's like, oh, I don't feel very confident about doing that. But that's actually quite healthy because there are skills I'm going to have to learn. Now confidence isn't always about doing extreme sports, it's about everyday things. But have a look at what you've done before elsewhere in your life and see if there's any skills or techniques that you applied that you could beg, steal and borrow to a new situation. What kind of strategies did you use to get through that situation? Because guess what? You can use those strategies again. So for example, if you were going for a job interview, did you look at LinkedIn, look at the company news, practice some questions? Right, okay, so you weren't feeling confident, so you employed that strategy of finding out information. Can you apply that again and even amplify it the next time you feel, you know, if you feel less confident about a job interview? Could you apply it to a date, for example? Could you think about some conversation topics and things just to give you that sense of influence and control over a certain situation? So they're kind of very random examples perhaps, but if you look at it, you can apply things from one area of your life to another. The other thing about confident people is that generally it gets to a point, and don't get me wrong, things can sort of dip in certain areas. Just because you're not feeling confident in one area of your life, it doesn't mean that everything else, you know, you feel unconfident about everything else. So, you know, if you have got that baseline, and I will sort of stress, you need to kind of have this baseline of accepting yourself, liking yourself, loving yourself, believing in your abilities to learn something, belief in your abilities to change your mindset. That is the foundation of confidence. So it can ebb and flow, but that's the baseline. But if you look at people that have mastered confidence, so for example, as I've said, they've applied what they've done in one situation, tweaked it, applied it somewhere else. There's almost a belief that I have the right to be successful. So ask yourself that question. It's very much linked to your self-worth and your self-respect. Do you respect and value yourself enough to ask yourself, do you know what? Do I really feel I have a right to feel confident in this area? And, you know, I would hope that you would say yes. I would hope that you would believe in yourself to know, do you know what? I may not feel confident at the moment, but I do believe I can become confident. And a lot of confident people, sometimes it's not that they feel confident in every situation, but they have this baseline of self-belief and self-acceptance. That's not saying they're perfect, because we've all got our own blind spots, but they're confident in their right to be successful. They have that healthy self-respect for each other, for themselves. They enjoy the fruits of their labours, and they also have a favourable appreciation or opinion of themselves. And what they also do, confident people often don't focus on what's going on inside here. So sometimes we all have that sort of negative, mind chatter going on, particularly if we're overwhelmed. Hello to everyone that's watching, that can go crazy. It's like this chimpanzee going or a parrot going off in our minds. Now sometimes we all have that, particularly if we're in a new situation. You know, sometimes, I don't know, say you're going on a date and you haven't been on a date in 2 years. It's like, oh my gosh, will this person like me? What do I say? What do I do? I gave you some tips earlier about how you can feel confident about that, which also applies in job interviews, funnily enough. But really sort of think about, they're thinking, if you think about that example, what you're doing is being very much focused in here. Confident people look outwards, they look outside of themselves. So that might be something that would help you as well. So if you are feeling nervous about something, yeah, make sure you do all the preparation and you get your mindset in the right place and you're telling yourself nice things about what you like about yourself, but focus more externally. Instead of thinking, what they're going to think of me, what they're going to think of me, what they're going to think of me, think, do you know what, I'm great. I wonder how their day's going. Sort of try and think about the world outside, because when you do that, then that means you're focusing less time on what's going on inside your own mind. So it's really about directing your energy outwards, not really focusing it inwards all the time. Because the chances are that most people are not going to be thinking about you and what's going on in your head. Yes, they might see you and make a judgment, but we're all kind of focused on our own thing to a certain degree. So try and focus that energy outwards and believe in your your abilities and your belief in yourself to be successful. And remember, it is sometimes about acquiring skills. It is about learning things bit by bit, piece by piece. Success and confidence are not the same equation. You can have very, very successful people who are just not confident. It's not predicted by your level of success. And, you know, I guess, what do we value as success in the modern world? Fame, money, big houses, cars. We tend to value material things, don't we? Those kind of external things. But it doesn't always mean that that person's confident. I can't think of somebody off the top of my head, but you know, you meet a lot, you hear about a lot of celebrities that have had a great amount of success, and for me that's a very, qualitative measure, because one person's success may not be another person's success. So there are lots of people that are successful who may not be confident. I mean, I've named a couple of those people earlier. It is very much linked to your self-esteem. It's also very much linked to who we hang out with. We want to hang out with people that bring us up. I call them radiators, not drains. We don't want to hang out with the drains, the people that bring us down, that make us feel less than, that are like, why are you doing this? What are you doing this for? So as I say, I'm always really careful about who I share my goals with, because we want to be around people that are like, yeah, go for it. How can I help you? Or that sounds absolutely amazing. So we have to be careful of the company that we keep. And as I mentioned at the beginning, avoiding comparing ourselves to each other, because nobody has had the same path in life that we have. So we must really be careful about comparing ourselves to other people. What we also need to be aware of is, if we're not feeling confident about something, just check in and think, hang on a minute, is this about confidence, or is it that I really don't want to do this? So there's a really good saying about our ladder has to be against the right wall. So very often I coach people who, and it's really common, who have been in a career for a certain amount of years and they don't want to change their career, but when they get to a certain level, it's like, do you know what, this isn't really what I wanted after all. And that's called having your ladder leaning against the wrong wall. So if you're feeling less confident, or there's a bit of trepidation about something, just check in with yourself and make sure it is something you want to do. Now, sometimes we can self-sabotage ourselves. We can convince ourselves, you know what, I don't want to date that bloke anyway. I don't want that job anyway, so what's the point of going for it? Make sure it's not self-sabotage, but do make sure the goal, if on some level, if you're to fast forward, you get really inspired about having achieved that goal. Because if we're going for the wrong goals, that can knock our confidence. So check your goals. Again, I don't know if I mentioned this already, it's not about comparing, it's about role models. Who is it that you really admire? Is there somebody, it can be somebody famous, or it doesn't have to be somebody famous, it can be somebody in your close circle, and think about, you know, make some notes and say, well, what is it about this person that I really like? What characteristics do they have? So I've always really admired the pop star Pink. I don't particularly like all of her music, strangely enough, but there's something about her that feels very strong, very empowered as a woman. I love the way that she does her conferences, her concerts. So she does a lot of acrobatics, and she really wants people to enjoy her concerts. You know, she wants to make sure that if you've paid your money, that you're going to get a really good experience. And I just love that about her, that it's not just she's a dot on the stage, but she really goes all out. She puts 100% into everything, and she may not be in real life, but to me she seems like a very strong together woman, and I really admire her. So there might be people in your life that you think, I really admire that person, you know, and think about what the attributes that they have. You know, if you've got any ideas, got any examples of role models, then please pop them in the comments, because I'm dead curious to see who people admire. So yeah, confidence is, as I say, as I mentioned at the beginning, just to recap what I've covered tonight, confidence isn't something that's fixed or definite, and it's not always something that we're born with. And if you feel that you're less confident, you can grow and you can build it. It's a bit like sometimes filling your car with petrol. It's a bit like what I talk about when I talk about resilience. It's a tank or a bank account. Sometimes it might be in credit because you've pushed yourself, you've achieved some goals. This is a great thing about having goals to work to. They don't need to be big goals, but little goals and intentions if you want. You know, once you start achieving things and celebrating your successes, your sort of fuel tank of confidence and resilience is going to start filling up. If you don't, and you're sort of holding yourself back and telling yourself negative things, you're probably likely to be in overdraft. That's interesting, Julie. Do you know what? It's funny you should say that. Just looking at the chat, Gemma Collins. Yeah. It's interesting you say that. Have you seen her lately on the television? She's, I think she's like lost half of her weight. She looks completely different actually. And it's funny you should say that, because she's another person. This might cause a bit of a mixed reaction, but I've seen her on television. I don't always agree with what she says, but there's something about her I really admire as well. I don't know what it is for you, Julie, but I think it's because she can be quite a straight talker, and I quite like that. I think that's obviously a strength of hers, and we have to be careful we don't overplay our strengths. But yeah, absolutely. And I think it's very easy to look at celebrities and think, oh, it's happened overnight, it's happened easily. But very often, and I'm guilty of saying that, but very often the ones that hang around have worked really hard for it. You know, even like when you look at YouTubers, yes, there's a lot of marketing behind them, but there's a lot of hard work as well. They've got to still churn out this content on a regular basis. They might have people helping them, but what appears easy very often isn't easy. So I totally get what you're saying, Julie. I'm trying to think of some other examples of people who I really admire. Oh, who is it I like? Billie Jean King. Just because she was really outspoken about equal rights for women in tennis at a time when it wasn't popular to do so. So there's a programme on at the moment called Mrs. America. I don't know if anyone's been watching it. I think, Joanna, you've been watching it with Kate Blanchett and all these other people. And it's really interesting about the women's empowerment movement. And there's a woman that's leading the kind of anti-feminist campaign, and she appears very confident, but they're very confident, very accomplished. But there's a few scenes when it's like behind closed doors, she's actually quite, even though she's a confident woman, she's sort of deferring to her husband, which is, you know, really interesting, different sides of her personality. So yeah, no, that's really interesting. Oh, I've been binge watching it too. I'm going to finish the rest tonight. I've got 2 more episodes to go. I'm really enjoying it. I love the theme tune as well, by the way. It reminds me of Saturday Night Fever, but that's showing my age. Anyway, so back to confidence. I'm sort of waffling a bit here, but yeah, I love that program. But yeah, it's not fixed. It's not definite. So if you're not feeling confident now, you can certainly do things to help grow your confidence. It's like a lot of the things that I talk about, like resilience. You know, if we go to the gym, right, we're not going to get a toned body overnight. It's going to take some work, and it's going to take consistent work. We're going to have a healthy eating diet, or eat healthy foods, maybe change how we eat, right? If you stop doing that, you're going to slip back to perhaps the body that you didn't want before. So confidence is the same. It's not fixed. It's not definite. It can go up and down. And don't beat yourself up if you're feeling like less confident than you did about something a while ago. I coach a lot of women that have had children and want to go back into the workplace and just have a lot of confidence issues, because it's like, do you know what, I've just not done this for a long time, and I just sort of help them build their confidence, and it's like, wow, yeah, you know, I've forgotten how empowered I could feel, you know, and asking for what they want at work as well. So I work in a lot in that area, and it just takes a bit of brushing off of skills. It is a skill, it can be learned, but it's about consistently doing things to kind of push your confidence. As I mentioned, I've got a confidence audit or a checklist, so I'm pretty sure I've got one. I hope I have, but I'm pretty sure I've got one, so I'll stick it on my Facebook page, right? Confidence is really about the ability to believe in ourselves, the ability to believe we can learn and develop, the ability to believe, do you know what? I did this in one area of my life, so what can I beg, steal and borrow? What did I learn? What can I apply somewhere else? It's about our ability to learn and adapt. We believe that we can do it. So it's about a belief in yourself and your abilities. That for me is what confidence is about. And I mean, I'd be pretty darn foolish to think I feel really confident about jumping out of a plane. It's something I'd like to do, obviously with a parachute, but I know I'm going to need skills and training to do it. But on some level I think, yeah, I reckon I could do that. So yeah, and don't forget, many people look confident, but they're not. They've just learned how to look confident, okay? Think about your role models. What are the attributes that you admire? Does that say something about you as well, and about some of the attributes you want to grow into yourself? Set yourself a confidence goal. Maybe say, right, I'm feeling, when you've done the audit, when you've done made some notes about where you felt less than confident, what was that about? Are there any themes in different areas of your life, like family, friends, career, relationships? See if there's any threads, and then maybe set yourself a confidence goal. Think, right, in a month's time, I want to be able to, I don't know, run 5 miles. At the moment, I don't feel like I could do that, but I want to get to a position in a month's time. Set yourself a confidence goal. That might be about how you feel about something, and find out different ways that you can achieve that goal. If it is something about minimising the chatter that's going on in your mind or changing it, think, right, I want to feel more confident. How am I going to do that? Okay, I need to start telling myself good things about myself and really believe it. How am I going to do that? Right, I'm going to start repeating some phrases every day in the mirror, or I'm going to write down phrases about myself that I really, really like. So set yourself a little confidence goal. Remember, when we're confident, we're very much in the zone, in the flow. We're focusing on other people, and actually that is a really good way to feel more confident and less self-conscious about ourselves, is to direct our attention outwards. If you're going into a room or going onto a Zoom call at the moment, how are you? How's your day going? And then you find you get a nice conversation going, and that can help build your confidence, rather than thinking, oh, I'm not feeling so confident about myself at the moment. So yeah, confident people do all these things. It's not always that they're confident all the time. There's loads of celebrities, really famous, you know, just don't feel confident at times. And we've all had times like that. We've all had times, and anyone who says there hasn't is telling a bit of a fib, I think. So it is a mindset and it's a skill set. So yeah, so that's a few initial confidence tips for this first in this 3-part series. Just about what confidence is, that it is situation specific. There are things you can do to improve it, but it's about your belief that you can learn, adapt and do different things. Next week I'll be giving you a few more techniques. I've already talked about role models, so I'll be talking about things that you can do with your body to make you feel more confident, how you can dress, how you can look, how you can speak. Lots of different techniques over the next few weeks that are all about building confidence, okay? So yeah, great to see you all on the call tonight. I shall in due course be binge watching the rest of Mrs. America, so no spoilers if you've already seen it. I think I know how it works out because it's a true story. But thank you all for watching. Yeah, thanks Julie, feel free to get in touch. But I think with a lot of these things it's very much about mindset. I coach predominantly on careers, leadership. I've coached on a lot of different areas. Confidence, I would say, is after that the one that comes up the most. So if you are feeling a bit, oh, I'm not sure, don't worry. Lots of people are feeling the same. There's nothing wrong with you. It's completely normal to feel like that sometimes. Practice, practice, practice. If you're doing something new, practice being confident. Look up confidence. What do people look like? How do they behave? You know, emulate your role models. Because it is something we do have to sort of pay attention to now and again, and it does come up a heck of a lot in coaching, and a lot of it is about the mindset. It's about having that flexible, open mindset to say, might not feel confident for now, but I'm building towards it. So keep telling yourself good things about yourself and try and set a little confidence goal. All right then guys, well have a lovely evening, have a great weekend, and stay alert, stay safe, all the things we're being told to do, and look after yourselves, and I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye. Thank you. Thanks for joining.